Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining in. And I wonder if you have ever thought about how people like Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs, Jack Ma, Elon Musk, or Melanie Perkins do get so much done in their life, have so much success in their life despite all the obstacles they are facing. And it seems like they have a secret source, something that makes it happen for them. They know how to break through challenges, limitations, get up and make things happen. It shows that it's possible to make things happen in their life. One hint, it has something to do with your mind and how those successful people process information and overcome what is thrown at them. And in tonight's session of the Mind Mastery Show, you are going to get insights on what it takes that you too can make it happen. You will learn how to peep into the mind of those people, how anyone else you wish to peep inside their mind and model their most inner success strategy. And so I welcome you to this show, the Mind Mastery Show. And I welcome you to this show, and where I bring to you those people who are able to decipher what is really going on in mindsets and emotions of other people. Now, as our guest is sharing his insight, can I ask you to do the following? First, let us know if you're watching this show live via hashtag live, or if you're watching it via a replay, then you type hashtag replay. Ask your questions in the comments. Here it comes overall, okay. Ask questions in the comments. If you've got a question, ask them straight away, and we are doing our best to answer those questions. Hey, like and share this video, because maybe some more people should know it, and if you are liking it, LinkedIn will take it up and spread it all across the LinkedIn network, of course. And there might be people in the session here that you don't know. So I'm inviting you to connect with each other, because, hey, you've got one thing in common. You are curious about learning, you're wanting to learn how do you expand your mindset, break through to the other side and make things happen. And last but not least, if you have the feeling that you're learning something in the session here, that you are having a breakthrough or deep insights into something, when you feel that we are sharing with you will make things happen for you, then type in @breakthrough or type in hashtag insights, and we are going to celebrate it with you together. Now, in a moment, I'm going to ask my speaker up here on stage, but before I'm going to do this, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit to you. Some of you might not really know me, some might know me actually, and hey, if you know me, then just say, I know you, Andreas. Now, give me a few moments to introduce myself to you. My name is Andreas, and I'm a German living here in Malaysia for a long time. And I thrive by helping people get their own personal and professional breakthroughs, helping them to remove their inner limitations and lift them up to achieve inner transformation and reach their goals. How do we do this? Well, my company is HCM Mind Dynamics, where my wife Natra and we offer the most exciting certified NLP practitioner course to the public, but we also work with organizations to help their teams to deploy a deeply understand themselves and achieve their highest potential. So let me see here in the chat right now who actually is already here. Let me see, because I can see a lot, but I don't know how many people are actually here. So I know Irvin is here. When I'm looking to the other side, to this side like this, it simply means I'm checking the chat box, because I also want to see if you have certain comments, questions already, and I want to share that with my speaker in just a moment. Who is already in the waiting room, all right? So here we've got Irvin. Welcome, Irvin. Anita is here. Anand is here. Bhavani is here. Aline is here. Vivian is here. Pauline is here. Yvonne is here. Avid is here. Jiyen is here. Karian is here. Jana is here. Liz is here. Rafin is here. Renee is here. Regina is here. Hello, Ging. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. If I pronounce your name wrongly, my apologies for this one, of course, as well. Sam is here. Nurul is here. Ajana is here. Renee again. Pavir is here. Good. Mafia is here. Ivana Ola Usha is here. Ralvi is here. Oh, it keeps scrolling and scrolling. Shahid is here. And my friend CA is here. Who else do we have? Amy is here. Anand is here. It keeps scrolling and scrolling. Angela is here. Hooray. Alina is here. Aya is here. I want you to give tons of likes straight away. I want to give you straight away for all of you being here. You are awesome. You want to learn. You want to practice. All right. So let me check out stay tuned for a couple of seconds longer. As I look if our guest for tonight is already along that line, just a couple of seconds more, and the show is going to start in a moment. I want to introduce you to Nishith Shah. He's a founder of Thought Labs, co-founder of the Global NLP Summit, and has been in the field of NLP for about 15 years, more than 15 years right now. And along his career, he has helped more than 4,000 people across 25 different countries through his unique experiential NLP programs, both online as well as offline. He is doing it in retreat format in Goa and in the Himalayas in India, Wengen in Switzerland. So you saw some pictures earlier from Switzerland. It was not just only the Himalayas, but it was all across the world also. Chiang Mai in Thailand, which is close to Malaysia, of course, and of course South America. Most of his work is grounded in modeling. Our topic for today is NLP modeling, where you spend, and I want you to ask those questions, where you spend more than 7 years in life modeling, and now here it comes, ladies and gentlemen, modeling and living with the monks in the Himalayas and in Thailand. Base jumpers in Switzerland, the indigenous tribes of Brazil, and adventure enthusiasts from Argentina. Hey, that already deserves a total like from your side. So give him already an applause, or like in that sharing already along that line. Through Nishith's experience of modeling, he has designed unique learning systems to design innovative programs, retreats such as NLP at the Himalayas, which is an out-of-the-world and life-changing learning experience. Through these retreats, delegates get to learn NLP through real-time modeling experience of the monks, the tribes, or the base jumpers based on the course they join. He has been actively working with organizations by transforming the way they accomplish their results. He had worked with more than 50 different organizations to help build winning cultures through purpose, courage, and leadership. Nishith is also a professional mountaineer. Of course he is. It is an example of applied self-first, where he's using all those learning experiences in life to summit Mount Everest. So please, hey, have your questions ready. As I bring him on stage, I want you to give him tons of likes, and love, lots of hearts falling from the sky overall, okay? And let me bring him in straight away, and let me see if I can get that correctly. Hold on. Yes, here we go. Welcome, Nishith. Okay, how is it going well on your side already? Thank you for joining in. And welcome to the show. People, give him some more love along that line, okay? So why don't we just simply start with the show already and start telling us a bit about yourself before we get into the real thing and talk about modeling, your own perspective, if you wish.
Great. Thank you, Andreas. Thank you so much for having me here. I've been so excited this whole week and probably from the beginning to be here. It's been really amazing. And thank you. I think you gave great introductions. I don't know what else to add to that.
A
But
lot if you want.
yeah, but hey, I'm Nishith and I'm from India. I've been in NLP. I first learned NLP about 16 years back now. And at that time, I was like about 17 years old. So it's like half of my life I've given to NLP and developing NLP experiences and things like that. So it's been great. I started like everybody. I started my journey with NLP. It's actually quite a funny story because I started my journey with NLP because I wanted to become an astronaut, and I
An
couldn't become an
astronaut.
astronaut. An astronaut, yeah. And I got
I
through
mean,
some
those
exams,
guys
and
in
I
the
got
rocket.
through. Yes, yes.
Wow, that's an
So,
amazing experience. Let me interrupt you brutally here right now. What made you think you want to, what you, well, thought about wanting to become an astronaut before you move into NLP right now? I'm curious already.
I always loved, and I always loved this idea that when you see the planet from a whole different perspective, like we do this in NLP, right? We dissociate and go to a different perspective, but actually physically being there and seeing that for me was really exciting. For me, it was also exciting to be in space, experience things differently, see things that most people don't get a chance to see, and all of those kind of was motivation for me to become an
Now,
astronaut.
so we were talking about how you became an astronaut and what helped you or what motivated you then to get into NLP. Maybe you just do a quick repeat of that story.
Yes, yeah. So I wanted to become an astronaut, and I gave some exams. I got through some into NASA, and I was happy. But then there were some personal challenges. I could do it, and uh, I was not very happy about that, so to speak, because that's something I'd been working towards all my life, and then I just couldn't do it, and I just couldn't get there. So I was not happy. I was a bit sad, frustrated, angry with all the things that was going on. And like that, someone came to me and said, "Hey, Nishit, you should do NLP. That will help you." And that's how I went ahead and did my first NLP program. uh, and it did really make a huge difference to me. It did really help me so much. And then I loved it so much, I decided, you know what, this is what I'm going to pursue. This is what I'm going to do. And since then, I've been in NLP.
Just for those of you, let me just ask those of you in the audience right now watching it, type in NLP #NLP if you do know NLP already. Type in uh, no NLP. I just make that up here right now. If you don't know NLP yet, so type NLP #NLP if you do know NLP. Type in no NLP if you don't know NLP right now. And I realize, Nishit, your line is like really breaking as well. You're frozen drinking your coffee right now. I'm hopefully you can see that here right now. Okay, wow, we also got people from the yes, okay. Yi knows NLP, Anita knows NLP, Angela knows NLP, Sue knows NLP. What can we share with you if you all know NLP already? Mahmoud knows NLP. Natra, my darling wife, is here, knows NLP. Prashant knows NLP. Fariha knows NLP. Nishith, you've gone offline, I think. I can't hear you anymore. I can't see you anymore. Shahid is here. Let me kick you out for a moment. Okay, he is out for a moment as well, and I hope he's coming back in a moment as well. Datin Naslin is here. Alvi is here. Knows NLP. I know NLP. Lena knows NLP. Everybody knows NLP, and that is really awesome. Now I'm a bit lost along that line because our speaker has disappeared for just a moment. But he will be back in just a moment, okay? That is always possible. Things happen in the internet as well, so that people disappear. Nishay, if you can hear me, please come back ASAP because I'm trying to capture the time along that line as you're trying to log back in. I'm typing in WhatsApp as well. Please come back. Maybe he is offline, totally offline right now, gone into space. Please stay. with us for the time being. We got about 64 people here already. Network with each other, share with us what you are doing. Modeling in NLP actually happens, or NLP has been based on modeling. As a founders of NLP, there were 3 founders of NLP, namely a guy by the name of Richard Bandler, somebody by the name of John Grinder or Grinder, depends on of how you're pronouncing that name, and Frank Perchelik had the experience of modeling somebody by the name of Virginia Satir. So they traveled with Virginia Satir. Virginia Satir was a family therapist way back in the 1960s and 70s, and she was very much engaged in family therapy. As a family therapist, you are engaged in family therapy, and she had a very specific tool, very specific idea give me a moment. She had a very specific way of helping people to get over their problems, which ultimately became the meta model, something between NLP called meta model, which is a tool to undo what people delete, distort, and generalize in their normal day-to-day conversation. And these tools were then later on used specifically to model a person like Milton Erickson and other people overall, because a very precise tool of questioning strategies. Without the meta model, NLP would most likely not exist. So let me check him in. And let me bring him back on screen straight away. So I was for a while talking about the meta model and where the meta model is coming from, and I hope I was very correct in saying that. I believe I'm correct. I'm also an NLP trainer. That the meta model is actually the core of NLP, not the core of NLP, but without the meta model, NLP would not exist. That's where I got stopped for the time being. And then you disappeared. I think you went to space with you wanted to replay Astronaut Life overall. And now you are back, Nishith. And please, let's keep going on talking about NLP and modeling. So what actually is NLP modeling? Let's get the theory behind us. And what is NLP modeling? What is that actually, Nishith? Let me share him, put him back into the room straight away. Yes, welcome back, my friend. Let's hope your line stays stable along that line. Let's talk about NLP modeling. What specifically is it actually?
Okay, let me first check if you're able to hear me clearly now. Is this
I can
okay?
hear you clearly, so I believe they can hear you as well along that line. I hope they can hear you. So I can hear you much clearer already as well. And maybe you just get started straight away. So we hope you can have the meat to the section straight away. Can you do that?
Yes, absolutely. Great. This is what I've been waiting for. So I think you spoke about NLP meta model. So let me maybe share my thoughts on modeling from what you just spoke, right? Because NLP meta model was also out from someone, I think Fritz Perl or Virginia Satir, and the thing from me, my experience of modeling, and this is slightly different, but it makes such a huge difference in a way that NLP modeling is, and the way we see and experience modeling. Now, one of the things about modeling is that it's been discovered that we see excellence in others, we see this amazing patterns in others, we see this brilliance in others, and then when we see this brilliance in others, NLP modeling is understanding that what is it that they're what is it giving them that brilliance, how are they seeing the what is that's giving them that.
Can you hear him now? Can you hear him now? Can you hear him now? I can hear you. Okay, keep talking. I think you should be okay here right now.
Okay.
Just keep talking. Let's see how it goes.
Great.
Now.
Excellent. If we were to model the patterns of disruptions, if you want to disrupt something, this would be a great place to model what we are experiencing today. Just modeling everything, isn't it?
Absolutely, we can model everything. Okay, even interruptions overall. Let's see how it goes, Nishi. Let's see how it goes and just share your experiences right now.
Okay, great.
As much as you can.
Okay. Great, brilliant. Let me start from beginning then in terms of my experience of NLP modeling. Right. So let me take an example that there are so many people going through so many different things, and they let's take an example of an organization. In the same team, people work in the same environment, right? So they have access to the same resources, they have access to the same manager, they have access to everything that's same, and yet we always find that someone always performs better than other. I mean, if they're going through the same process and if they have access to same resources and same education, everything is similar, then how is it that one person performs better than other? And that's where NLP modeling comes in. NLP modeling comes in because if one person's performing better than others, then the result doesn't come from something on the outside. The result comes from more of how we experience our life inside, how we see the world internally, how we shape our beliefs and values, how we shape our internal thoughts and resources and resourcefulness, and how we kind of respond to different situations. And based on how we internally structure our experience, the results get decided on the outside. And to me, NLP modeling is about identifying people who have created that internal structure, that internal experience in a way that's getting them a specific result, the result that I want for myself in my life. And that is what NLP modeling is all about. Also, to just add that NLP modeling is something that is not an external concept. Like everything in NLP, it's not something new. It's something that we've been doing all our life. It's only through modeling we learn how to walk. It's only through modeling we learn how to talk. It's only through modeling we build our identity and all these different patterns. So we are natural modelers, but what happens is that that's an unconscious process. So we end up modeling things sometimes that's not useful for us. We end up modeling things sometimes that is not in line with our goals and results. And if we consciously learn and develop to model things, then we automatically start becoming the person that we want to be, become the best version of ourselves, and start getting the results that we want in life. And that to me is NLP modeling, just recognizing those excellence and those patterns in people and then having that for ourselves. I
All
hope
right,
that
okay.
the internet stayed
Yes,
here
it's
for the
getting
whole
better. It's
description.
getting better. I'm really, really, really happy. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you got questions, please post them in the comment section so that we have a chance. Nishith has a chance to pronounce to answer the questions because the session is really about you. I'm an NLP trainer. He's an NLP trainer. We kind of do know, we believe we do know what it takes to model people, to understand them. So what specifically can you model in a person, and how do you go about doing it? That's over to you.
I mean, I personally specifically start by, no, thank you. Yes. So I specifically start by figuring out that what's important to me in life and what is it that I really want. For example, let's say right now, what's most important to me could be discipline. That I want to have a certain morning routine. I want to be disciplined with that. I want to have a certain experience of discipline, and that's something really, really important to me. Then I go out there and experience that who out there has that, who out there is extremely disciplined, who out there is has a very amazing sort of morning routine that gives me energy throughout, that gives them energy throughout the day. And once I find that, and they're all around us, there are people all around us, and once I find them, then I just go and I observe them in terms of what they do and how they do things, and then I interview them in terms of recognizing, okay, what's really supporting them to have that discipline. And I recognize that's why NLP, we say the difference. NLP is about noticing the difference that makes the difference. Recognizing that, okay, what is it that they're doing differently than I? What beliefs do they have that's differently from how I currently have? Because if I focus on the same thing, then I might not get any different result. So I focus on the difference that makes the difference, and then I go like, okay, let me take this on and see if I can have that discipline that I want to have. Okay, this is great, this is working, let me take something else on and get to that discipline where I want to get to.
How when you okay, let's stick to the example of discipline. I like that very much, and I think it's very important, a very important point that you've mentioned here right now, namely, what do you want? So it's not just around looking around for a Steve Jobs or for an Elon Musk or so, but it's about looking what is something you want to achieve, and then find that same characteristic in somebody else, no matter who that actually is. It could be your neighbor, for example, right? Can it be, and then you're going to them, but what are the next steps then? What is then the you follow them throughout your day to understand how they stay disciplined. You ask them a lot of questions. What do you do in order to get behind into their mind, and how do you install it inside of you then? Over to you. How do you do that?
Great. So this is where I'm going to give one of the most amazing. Yeah. Okay. Uh, so this is where I'm going to give one of the most amazing insight that changed my life and changed the way I saw modeling altogether. Uh, this has completely changed the way I fully experience life. The thing that I realized after doing so many years of modeling, I understood was that modeling was never about taking things from others and then installing it in myself. Uh, Modeling was more about discovering what I already have, and I'm only using others as a way to identify that in myself. Uh,
Mm,
so for me, modeling isn't about taking things from others so that I can install it. It comes with this belief that we have all the resources within us, right? So it comes with this idea that I already have what I want. I already have that discipline within me, but I'm not able to access it at this point. I'm not able to get in touch with it. And by modeling, I'm using others as a mirror just so that I can access this within ourselves. I mean, a great metaphor that I always keep sharing it with people is about thinking about aliens. See,
thinking about.
imagine that if you were aliens from Mars,
Okay.
aliens,
Got it. Okay.
hypothetically, let's just imagine that if you're, yeah, if you were aliens from Mars, and if you came down to this planet and you saw a
Hmm.
cup of coffee, would you
All
know what
right.
that is?
Nope.
No, because you're an alien. You've never had an experience. You've never had a taste of the coffee. You don't know what it is. So you wouldn't know what that is. So for
True.
you to be able to identify a coffee, you need to have an experience of that coffee. So even when you go and say that I want to have a coffee, that sort of presupposes that you have had an experience of coffee. You have had some sort of understanding of what coffee is. So for me, even to say that I want discipline, that presupposes that I have an experience of discipline. Without having that experience, it wouldn't even be in my awareness. It wouldn't even be
Otherwise, you
there
would
for
you
me to
would not
even say
know,
that I
right?
want to model discipline.
Okay. Okay. So it basically means, and it's
Exactly.
based on the NLP presupposition, we have all the resources we need inside of us, and then discovering, okay, I see somebody who's doing something that I don't do, but already alone the recognition of what this person is doing and realizing the lack of that within myself allows me then to kind of hang out with that person and get to know how he or she is doing what I want to learn, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, see, when I noticed someone, I could have seen so many different things in them, right? I could notice inspiration and creativity and confidence, but instead of all of those things, I noticed discipline. Why is that? Because it's not something that I don't know about. Like I said, that I have the experience of discipline. I know what it is like. I know what criteria of discipline is. By noticing it in other, I go like, okay, they match the criteria, and so now I can go to them and figure out that, okay, what do they do, and just using them as a mirror so that I can access this discipline within myself that I already have. But the fundamental idea is that you can't model something that you don't have an experience of, because if you don't have an experience of it, it wouldn't even be there in your awareness. You wouldn't even
True.
know that you need it. It's like
I
unconscious incompetence, right? How do you become
I
aware of something that you don't know that you don't know?
And okay, once let's say you stick to the example of discipline right now. So I do know that, for example, you are very disciplined. I want to know how to get that inside of me. I realize, hey, you are doing things differently compared to me. But now we are at a behavioral level, and NLP is different, looking into the beliefs overall and the inner structure with regard to discipline. Otherwise, it would be just the behavioral modeling of yours, right? The behavior is important, but how would I get to know your beliefs about discipline, for example? How do I access those, and what do I do within myself to then get them activated, if that makes sense to you?
So for me, absolutely, absolutely. And that's what I've been doing most of my life. Because for me to access those beliefs and values, I just interview them and observe them. So it depends on what I'm modeling. Sometimes when I'm modeling something, like one of the experiences that I've had in Himalayas where I was modeling acceptance. Uh,
Acceptance.
there was a really funny experience because I was modeling from uh, yeah, and I was modeling from Buddhist monks, and Buddhist has this fundamental idea that for you to accept yourself fully, you got to accept the suffering. Now that's an interesting belief that I didn't have, uh, but it's the belief that I recognize, but I couldn't connect with initially, at least.
Hmm.
I didn't know how to, because I didn't want to at that point I didn't have the wisdom, right? Because I started this when I was 21 or 22. uh, so I didn't have that wisdom to go like, okay, this is the acceptance, and I accept everything that happens with you, and I accept every experience that I have with me. uh, and I couldn't connect with that belief very much. But as I modeled more and more, uh, one of the ways that I started connecting with that belief, one of the ways that I started installing that belief in myself is to find more and more of evidence of what those monks said, find more and more of evidence of the beliefs in my life. So I started paying attention to, okay, where do I suffer? And when I say suffer, not in an extreme suffering way, but I suffer in a way that sometimes I wake up at 5 in the morning when I don't want to wake up, and that to me sometimes is suffering. And once I accept that suffering, it kind of installs that belief more and more. So the more evidence I find of that belief to be true, the more I can install it within myself. And that was one of the things that I did when I started initially modeling. The thing about this is also that the more I did that, the more I became flexible of having new beliefs. So then I didn't have to find more and more evidence. Now I'm just open to have beliefs and apply that beliefs. It's like wearing a t-shirt. You put on a t-shirt and then you see, does it fit? Does it make sense? Is it comfortable for you? If it is, I'll keep it. If not, I'll change it and go model something else.
So it would be, and we have a couple of questions in the section already. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions from the audience, and really, really, really thank you for asking all these questions. Please, please, please keep that questions coming. We are going to go answering these questions in a moment. But hey, it's my turn right now. I'm going to ask these questions to this awesome guy here. So it would be to understand the beliefs from somebody who is like, for example, having the lifestyle of accepting something. It would be also a discovering within myself about where in which part of my life do I do this kind of acceptance already, and then start to practice it in other areas of my life, having the same style of acting, behaving, thinking along that line in pictures, sounds, and feelings. Would that be along that line of what you're sharing here right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fundamental core idea for me is that if I'm recognizing something in someone, then that has to be true for me. Same goes with the alien. If I'm able to recognize a coffee, then I know I have an experience of coffee. So even if I'm able to recognize that belief in that monk, uh, at some level it has to be true for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to recognize. Just like the
Which
way
I
an
think is a
alien won't be
very
able to recognize a coffee if they don't know what a coffee is.
It's a very, very interesting idea, actually, and many people say this, but never so crystal clear. Though that when you discover something inside of you, of course, it must be within you. Otherwise, you wouldn't recognize it. I don't know what I don't know. So let's stop here for a moment and me asking you questions. Let me check out in the audience. There are many questions. I hope you have model strong memory skills. So you do know the questions here right now. Let me see what we do have here. I had some already earlier. Mona Lisa is asking what or how to model to reach a place where one wants to go in the near future, especially when the process is not available to model. Like, for example, how to be a TED speaker.
Is this better now? Is this better?
Okay, better again. Better again. Yeah,
Can you hear me well?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. All
So,
right,
TED speaker, how to
brilliant.
become a TED speaker, basically, how to
Yeah.
make it happen.
So for now, what I would do is focus on the qualities that you need to become a TED speaker, right? Because becoming a TED speaker is an external driven, but to become a TED, so when I think about being a TED speaker, some of the qualities that probably I need is inspiration, creativity, because TED speakers bring something that's unique and that's different, different way of thinking, innovation, a breakthrough idea, so breakthrough experience, even maybe confidence just to be a speaker and presentation and all of those things. So these are all different qualities that I can model. So I can pick one of the qualities, let's say creativity, and then I can go like, okay, who has creativity? And I don't necessarily have to find a TED speaker who has creativity. I can find any creative person, go on and interview them and understand the structure of creativity, understand how they do creativity, how they become creative, and then I can access that creativity myself. And then I can go to inspiration, and then I can go to innovation, and that way I can have all the qualities to model, and then eventually that takes.
Hmm. So that would then ultimately mean that to become a TED speaker would be more than networking skill. You're installing those skills inside of you somehow, or installing, accessing those skills inside of you, awakening those skills inside of you, building on them, becoming good at it, feeling good about it, familiar with it. So you're expanding your map of the world along that line. And then once you have that certainty that you can make it happen, then you reach out to people who are in charge of TED speaking assignment. I don't know how to pronounce it, because then you are ready right now with a mindset of becoming a TED speaker. Would that be kind of okay along that line?
Yeah. Yeah, the
Okay,
other way to think about it is also that sometimes most people are ready. And if most people are already ready, then also to reach out to TED speakers, what else do we need? Like it's a connection. Maybe how can you be a better influencer and influence any conversation? And that can be modeled. How do you build better connections? That can be modeled as well. So it's about identifying that what's that one resource that will create that impact in becoming a TED speaker. What's that one resource that you really need that will make a huge impact, and then going ahead and modeling that, finding people who have that, and then modeling them.
guys, when you hear that right now, he said right now, really, really, really a diamond, a gem. He said most people, we are ready. Most people are ready within themselves already. Most people are ready for anything overall, but we have covered it up. So the trash we most likely accumulated as we grew up, as we accepted limitations, most likely like this. Let me see if I see some more questions, because I think it was really important question. Somebody by the name of Sue Scott, she's saying I would put it as identifying something I want to do with excellent myself and then modeling how to achieve it. Let me repeat this one more time. I would put it as identifying something I want to do with an excellent myself, with excellence myself, and then modeling how to achieve it. Would that be okay with you? Do you understand the question?
Yeah,
Deepak
yeah,
is
yeah.
saying,
If I understood the question, that it is about identifying, even when I want something in someone else, the identification of that is excellence in self, and that's what I said. That even when I make the statement that I want something, by definition that means I already have it. To be honest, the other way around also, even when I make statement I don't want something, the definition by that is also that I have it.
of
uh,
course.
so one way, that's absolutely correct. Yeah.
Angela is saying modeling not to take from others, but modeling to discover the resource in myself. True or false? I believe it's true. Okay.
It's true.
Share
Absolutely.
with us a story. Share with us a story of your life amongst the tribes in the Amazon or among the base jumpers, of what you learned from them and how they actually helped you to become the person you are today. Do you have to share a story with us? I think you can do that.
Yeah, I could share. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, so there was this time in my life when I started all of this, I was extremely driven. Uh, but that drive gave me a lot of stress because I was like, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to achieve this, I need to create this, and I need to create that, and all of those things. So hence, I decided to model the Buddhist monks in the Himalayas. That's where I went there because I really wanted peace and calmness. And for me, they were an example of peace and calmness. They were a representation of that. And so I met. It was this French monk I met in the Himalayas, which is an amazing story. Uh, but that's when I started modeling acceptance because a lot of peace and calmness sort of started coming from acceptance. Uh, but the thing that happened, and this is that started happening, was that as I spent years and years modeling these monks, I noticed that I became really calm and composed and peaceful, and that was really who I wanted to be. It's almost like I became really grounded, and nothing could affect me. But the price that I sort of paid for that was that the drive happened. I was okay. If I didn't achieve something, it's okay. It's life, and I can accept that and move on and learn and grow from it. But I experienced less and less of drive, and I didn't quite like that because I want the balance. It isn't about either only being driven or only being calm. For me, it was important to find that balance, and that's when the base jumpers in the Switzerland helped. So. Uh, the thing that I was really fascinated about them was that most people think that base jumpers are this adrenaline junkies, or they're not someone who don't get scared, or they can just do anything without any consequence. But that's not true. Most base jumpers are scared to make that jump. But the difference that I noticed was that in spite of having that fear, they would still make that jump. And in my head, I was like, that would be amazing thing to have for myself and for all these organizations that I work with. Because imagine having this ability to literally take a leap of faith, jump into the unknown. You don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know the result of it. You just have to fully trust that that parachute is gonna open, uh, and then take that leap of faith in spite of having that fear. I mean, so many people would go and achieve some amazing, great things just by being able to have that trust in self and to take that leap of faith. And so I started modeling some of these guys. I mean, not some of it, just one particular guy in this one. So it's amazing that a lot of these base jumpers, when they do base jumping on the side, they work in the bar because that's how they make a living. And so this guy who was working in this bar, and we started having conversation with him, uh, and there was amazing thing to notice about one, how to really develop this idea or this belief that in spite of fear, to be able to take this jump. And I started exploring that with him in terms of, okay, how does he do that? How do you really take that leap of faith? And it was really simple. To him, it was just like, I just trust that my parachute opens. That's it. If I make sure that my preparation of my bags, like the parachute bag, is done well, and if I make sure that I'm prepared with it, then I'm very happy to take that jump uh, because I could just trust that the parachute will open. And uh, and to me, that was such a great thing. I mean, parachute is metaphorical, but in my life, if I can prepare a parachute for anything that I want to do, any goal that I want to achieve. Let's take an example. For me to climb Everest, I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I make it. I don't know if there's going to be snowstorm. I don't know what are the different challenges that might come. But if I can prepare, like if I can get my training and if I can be physically well, and if I can do, that's my parachute. And then just have that trust in myself, and then go and climb Everest. So it's that helped me, because climbing Everest I was scared, but now I'm able to go and take that action in spite of having that fear. So just having that metaphor and just having that simple belief that this base jumper had allowed me to go on height. Uh, Another really funny mountain story that, in terms of modeling, that helped me was that recently, about 3 4 years back, I got caught up in a snowstorm. I was on an expedition, and it was crazy because it kept snowing, like literally snowing for like 7 10 days. It became -20 degrees, and it was frozen. We couldn't eat properly. We couldn't drink. It was at an altitude of 5,500 meters, and suddenly I thought about that French monk and his idea of acceptance of suffering. And I was like, if I can just fully accept that, if I can just accept, because I was fighting with it, that okay, shit, it's cold, shit, I can't eat properly, oh, this is all really going not well. But if I could accept that this is what it is, and I did that, and I started operating from that, it allowed me to be more resourceful. Because without having that acceptance of what was going on, I wasn't able to be resourceful. And that being resourceful allowed me to literally, I came back with lots of injuries, but it would have just not, it could have been much more. And I was saved just from being resourceful. So
Now,
these are some of the examples of how I use modeling.
let me ask you, and I think it
Yeah.
goes in hand with what Prashant asked earlier. He asked, could you please help us deep dive? How exactly can we know their structure and strategies? So how do you go into the mind, basically, to understand the beliefs, for example, of that base chamber or the belief of the monk, and understand their structure and strategies? And the strategies.
So that's a great question. I think it's a brilliant question. And a lot of that is paying attention to the language, because a big part of modeling is me interviewing people and me asking them questions in terms of how they do something. If you're familiar with
Okay.
NLP, then
Hold,
you know
hold on, hold
logical
on.
levels. There are specific
You
logical levels questions.
you broke up right now. How do they do it? Then you broke up for a moment. So you ask specific questions of how do they do it. If you could continue on that step.
Yeah, yeah. I was just saying that if you're familiar with logical levels, then you can ask them belief level questions. And if you're familiar with NLP, then you know logical levels and clean language. But a lot of it is just about exploring that how do they experience something. It comes how who are they when they do something, what's important to them. And so the more I can ask them different questions, and the more I can be and clean questions are one of the best ways for me to do that. The more I can explore that, the more I can understand what they are sharing. Then from that language, I can identify the patterns. Because when they say something, it usually falls in one of the other categories. Either they might say a belief. I might recognize some of the meta programs. If you know, if you're familiar with NLP, I might recognize some logical level statements. I might recognize how they experience something through submodalities, so through the hand gestures and all those different things. But a lot of it comes from, I think, one, me being really curious, because I really want to know what's the difference. Until I don't find that difference, I can continue to explore. Once I know what the difference is, I usually have this kind of aesthetic element. Like I go like, that's interesting. That's really unique. That's, I feel something. And then I go like, okay, what is that? Is that a belief? Or are they operating from towards or away from? Are they operating from self or others? And all of that kind of comes together to create their experience. So the more that I can notice, the more I can calibrate, and more that I can experience, uh, the better I get. It's about observing them
But
and
it's
using the language.
so yes, it's about being really curious, most likely asking lots of questions, and the ability to understand and what you mentioned, logical levels. Some people might not know what that is overall, but to understand when somebody responds, at what level do they respond? So they respond back the level of environment and behavior, as is the capability level overall, or do they really talk from levels of identity, who they are as a person, for example, when they base jump. So, for example, they could say, I'm a great jumper. Um, I believe that I survive when I'm jumping. I believe I have the ability to land safely along that line. And it's important for me to get that feeling of jumping through. Capabilities would be I've learned and trained enough to make it happen. I know how to move my body. It's in my neurological system along that line. My behavior will respond to any emergency when required somewhere along that line. Um, I'm gonna, some more people were asking, how do you somebody was asking, by the name of Alvi was asking, how does one develop patience while anticipating NLP starting to present its results? So how can you become patient while you most likely do the modeling process? So how do you stay patient? Because modeling is most likely not something that you do in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, but it can take some time, right? So how do I stay patient while I learn the process?
So that's why I think the thing that has to be life
You
changing for you is something that truly matters to you. And
okay?
when that's there, if something that's really life changing, then you really, really want that for yourself. And then the patience just naturally comes because you really want that for yourself. And you then, as you start modeling, you would also start experiencing that shift. You would also start experiencing those results. It's not a point thing that like day one you don't have it and day 10 you'll have it fully. It's a process, and you will start experiencing more and more of whatever you're modeling. And as you experience the results of whatever you're modeling, that automatically gives you that patience, because then you want more of it. It's sort of like, I mean, for the lack of better word, for me at least, it's sort of like addiction, because the more I can learn, the more I want to learn, and the more I want to have that for myself.
Okay. Um, Alvi is asking, can you share a simpler way to learn it? I think it's an important question. We want to make NLP simple for the people
Yes.
because I strongly believe NLP is relevant nowadays.
Yes, I mean, for me, the most simplest way to learn this is I'll give you two-step process. Step one is to kind of think about being a child, because as a kid you always modeled. You learned everything from just observing people, from just paying attention to patterns and structures of people. Even when you learn how to walk, you observe people. How are they moving their muscles? How are people standing up? And you learn through that. Being in a childlike state allows you to get into this know nothing state. So if you can be a child, if you can be a kid, then modeling will naturally happen. The second thing I would say is that first be a child, and second then just fully observe without any judgments or without any labels or any preconceived notion. If you can let go of that, so that's what we call an NLP, no nothing said. If you can let go of all your labels, judgments, and just observe people for who they are and what they do and what they say, being in a childlike state, and then trust yourself, you will model naturally. You don't need to
That was
learn
an
NLP patterns and none of those things to do that.
so no nothing state was really important. Okay, Renee is asking, as a good friend of mine, she has got an amazing experience, and I hope Renee, you are okay when I'm sharing your experience. So, what if the person I want to model are not accessible to me? How do I identify the beliefs then? So if the person is not accessible to her right now, is it okay? I'm like to say, like I watch, for example, a lot of YouTube videos to understand them, how their thinking goes. I read about books. I get to know them as much as possible when I'm curious about somebody. So, but for Renee only, how do you identify the belief structures if you don't have access to a person?
That's a great question as well. So I think at some level we can model people through videos and books, uh, because even through their writing and language and books and videos, we can identify the patterns and how they're doing something. The only limitation that I would feel that happens is that if something really stood out, if some belief, some value, some pattern that really stood out, and if I want to go deeper into how do they do that, how do they access that, how do they experience that, I can't, because I can't ask them those questions. But there's so much learning that can happen without accessibility, because you can identify those beliefs, you can identify those values, you can identify those their internal way of thinking, the internal representation. There's so much from others map of the world that we can learn on day-to-day basis, if we just it's sort of like a structure of mismatch, right? If we just start paying attention to the difference that makes the difference, then we can learn so much more. But if you really want to go deeper into how they do something, then that sort of becomes the limitation. But otherwise, it's very much possible to identify by paying attention to their language through videos and books and so on.
And I believe strongly that it's really about entrenching yourself into them ultimately. So you actually can look, for example, you can watch, I believe you have also Netflix over in India. You can watch a show over many, many, many hours. And if you like an actor very much and you see how that person acts and behaves and speaks and interacts with others, and you identify what is he believing about the world, you can actually even model an actor and become, at a certain level, of course, not become the actor, but start emulating, is that the right word right now? Becoming, taking over their beliefs or installing their beliefs or awakening their beliefs, their behaviors within yourself by just starting in a certain fashion to assimilate it. Assimilate was the right word, which would say it's also possible, right? We can also watch movies and see how people act. Yoda, for example, or Star Wars, if you want. There are many, 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 many hours to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at a certain level, we do that, right? How many times? I mean, if all of you think about this, how many times have you walked into a movie? Let's say you went in to see an Avengers movie and came back feeling like Captain America, like, oh, I'm that guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do know a story, for example, with me when I was in Germany. I watched a movie as a little kiddo, and it was about, I'm not sure if it's the right word right now, Native Americans, okay, the Native Americans fighting against the white guys, invaders, so to speak, okay, the cowboys. And I do know me and my
Mm.
friends coming out of the movie, we were like 5, 6, 7 years old, maybe a little bit older. And we ran around and we played the Red Indians or the Native Americans and we shot and we became them ultimately. Our favorite hero became us ultimately. We behaved like them. I was playing football recently in LinkedIn. I had a video, and I had not a video, a post about playing soccer in 1974. I think Germany became second time world champion, and I started to play football. My parents just changed location. We moved to a different place. I had new friends, and they all played football. And initially, I didn't like it, but they introduced me to football. I was pretty clumsy, most likely initially, but we watched the games together. We played, and then I became like I wanted to become one of those great players in the German tricot to become a great football star along the line, soccer star. And I think kids have that. How else can they grow? How else can they become somebody? And some parents or some people say, hey, look how your kid walks, he behaves like you. And that basically means, I believe you agree with me, that basically means they have started modeling your behavior. Isn't it true?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think everything that we experience in life is learned and it's modeled. Good or bad things, even we model out unresourceful patterns. We model out non-useful emotions. But
Oh,
that's how we
yeah.
learn. Everything is a learned skill. Everything that we experience is learned, and we unconsciously model all the time. As kids, we do it much more. As adults, now life comes in a way. We have all this thoughts and predetermined notions, and all of those comes in a way. But if we allow ourselves to just let go and fully and sort of have a positive, strong outcome, then we can just naturally model great, amazing things.
Until then, yes, thank you very much for being with me today. I learned a lot. If you learned something again, please type it in the chat. Give him a great, wonderful, loving gesture that he was spending this time with us. Apologies overall for the hiccup in the beginning part. Your camera right now in this shift is really, really clear. I have no idea what happened.
I have no
Totally
idea, too.
crystal clear. Your audio is on track. We should start the whole session maybe from the beginning. It doesn't really matter. Any last words from your side? That's really like the last rites. Any last words from your side? Something you want to share? Please let me know. Say it now. Over to you one more
Yeah, no,
time.
with even with all the hiccups, I really enjoyed the conversation. It was really brilliant. Thank you so much for having me here. I think
Now he breaks up again.
with all the interruptions, if I can have people take one thing, right? Ooh, yeah. Every time I start speaking, I think. uh, but if I could have one thing that can be taken from this conversation, for all of you who are still here and all of you will probably listen later, is this idea that NLP modeling is this amazing way through which you discover your own resources, but that sort of presupposes that you have that resources. Everything that you want to experience in life, everything that you need or want in life, you already have that, and you're ready, and you are already there. And when you operate from that mindset, modeling life, everything becomes really easy and simple. I think if everyone can get that one takeaway, uh, I think that's a win.
So basically saying like, if I can see it, it must be somewhere inside of me. Good
Yes.
or bad, ultimately. Good or bad. And of course, looking at the world right now, we need more goodness, we need more hearts. And so please model, hang out with people who with heart, with who are nice, who are friendly, whom you really want to become. Discover yourself, identify the qualities you need to have to get to the next level, and start discovering it with amongst other people. Be curious, and that's just a summary of what I want to learn overall. Be curious about how do they do what they do, what are they thinking like. Be curious like a child, behave like them without giving yourself up. So it's not about giving yourself up, but it's about removing the trash within yourself, staying authentic within yourself, removing the trash that we all have accumulated throughout our growing up process along that line, and ultimately enjoying to become who we really truly deserve to become, and creating the life that we desire and deserve to have ultimately. And with that, thank you very much, and bye bye.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.